Mr. Coy, let me begin with you. Although I believe this question may be best answered by Mr. Murphy. And that deals with the Claims Processing Improvement Act, which I have introduced. And there are a number of important provisions in that legislation, and I am pleased to see VA indicating support for some of them. I'd like to discuss a couple of the provisions for which VA did not provide views. First, this committee has a responsibility to exercise aggressive oversight of VA's efforts to address the backlog. In other words, once again, it is beyond my comprehension why it took so long for VA to move from paperless to paper. I applaud the Secretary for finally undertaking that very ambitious goal, but the job of this committee is to make sure that that goal is achieved. So my question to you, Mr. Murphy, is do you agree that this committee and the public needs to be able to measure VA's progress? In other words, the Secretary, to his credit, did what very few people do. He put it right out there on the table. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he said by the end of 2015, all claims would be processed within 125 days with 98% accuracy. Is that what he stated?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And what I just heard you say a moment ago is you believe that we are on target to reach that very ambitious goal?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
So what I want this committee to be able to do is to make sure that we are monitoring effectively and on a periodical basis our progress toward reaching that goal. Do you agree that that is a reasonable thing for the American people to be doing?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. And you point out there's some provisions of the bill that we haven't put official testimony on, but I can speak to that in a very general sense. And what we're talking about here is specific publicly posted performance for all to see and understand exactly what VA is doing and the progress we're making towards the Secretary's goals of 125 days, 98%. We've been reporting publicly for some time now all of the performance that we have on our Aspire website available to anybody. And we would be interested in discussing with yourself and the committee on any further reportings that you would be talking about and talking about some of the details in your bill.
Good. Well, that is what we are talking about. I personally believe that visibility into actual production when measured against projected workload and production will allow stakeholders to see what benchmarks VA must hit in order to reach the Secretary's goals. In other words, here's what we want. We do not want in late 2015 for you to come in here and say, you know, we hope that we would be able to do that, but it turns out we can't. We want to be monitoring you at least on a quarterly basis to see what your goals are, where you think you should be, and in fact where you are. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman. And I got to point out some numbers showing that we are making progress in that regard. The backlog reduction of approximately 74,000 cases and our overall inventory reduction in 44,000 cases just in the last 45 days. And what's significant about those numbers, when we're talking about such a large volume of cases, it's not, well, that's the game changer. But it does indicate that we're at a tipping point. In order to break the backlog, you need to be putting more work out the door than is coming in. And we're there solidly, month after month, consistent now.
So what you're telling us, and by the way, this is very good news for the American people, is that you think right now the backlog is decreasing. You think as the transformation of the system becomes firmer and we are more and more into digital rather than paper, you're going to see that backlog go down. Is that what you were saying, telling us?
I'm saying that the backlog, we can expect the backlog to continue to decrease going forward.
That it is decreasing and that it will continue to decrease.
Last 45 days, it has decreased by over 44,000 cases. Excuse me, 44,000 inventory, 74,000 backlog. They're two different numbers.
Right. Okay.